You ever notice how a little inside joke in a family can sometimes, point to something way bigger happening out in the world? Well, let's get into it, because that's exactly what we're looking at today. How a simple bit of teasing at the dinner table might just be showing us the very first signs of a gender gap in this new age of AI.
So picture this. Dad's at his computer, maybe trying to figure something out, and he starts talking to an AI to help him write an email or something. And across the room, his wife and daughters kind of exchange a look, maybe a little smile. It's that familiar, gentle dad joke energy, right?
And this isn't just one family, not by a long shot. This scene is playing out in homes all over the place, becoming this common cultural meme almost. But under all that humor, there's this hint of something else going on, a sign that we're all still figuring out how to feel about these new conversational AIs.
But hey, this isn't just about feelings or family dynamics. This little observation, it's actually backed up by some pretty solid data.
It's one thing to notice a trend anecdotally, but it's a whole other thing to see it spelled out in the numbers. Big studies, like the ones from the Pew Research Center, are confirming that there is a real, measurable difference in how men and women are adopting artificial intelligence right now.
And yeah, the divide is pretty clear. Men are consistently saying they're more optimistic about where AI is headed, and they're way more likely to be the ones jumping in early, making these tools a part of their regular routine.
Which brings us to the headline statistic here, 2 to 1. Men are nearly twice as likely as women to say they use generative AI regularly. That's not a small difference. That is a major gap right at the very beginning of a huge technological shift.
So here's the thing. This whole situation might feel brand new because, well, AI is new. But that ratio, that 2 to 1 gap, it's actually an echo of something we've seen happen before.
Yep, this 2 to 1 split has a history. It's a pattern we've seen in other fields, where one group dominates early on, and that early adoption ends up shaping the entire culture, the norms, even the power dynamics of that industry for decades.
You can see it really clearly when you look at specialized fields like surgery or engineering. They started with this same kind of lopsided adoption, and it led to these long-lasting gaps in pay and influence. And that question mark sitting next to generative AI, well, that's the big unknown we're all looking at right now. Are we just watching history repeat itself?
This all leads to a really fascinating question. What is it about this technology, in particular, that's causing this gap? Let's dig into the theory behind why some people might see AI as one thing and others see it as something totally different. I mean, really, why is a tool you talk to so different from a tool you just click on? Why might some people, and it seems women in particular, be a little more hesitant to jump on board with these specific AI models?
Okay, so unlike old school tech, large language models, the LLMs, they're just built different. They don't just follow commands. They talk back in natural language, they can copy human tone, they even try to figure out what you mean. The whole interaction starts to feel, social. Or as the source puts it, quasi-social.
And this is really the heart of the idea. For some people, AI is just a tool. It's efficient, it gets a job done, and there's basically zero social risk. But for others, it feels more like a social partner. And dealing with any social entity, even a fake one, just feels more complicated, a little more socially risky.
So one theory about why this perception is split comes from evolutionary psychology. The idea is that, on average, women evolved a higher sensitivity to social cues and the dangers of being excluded from a group. That trait was super important for survival, and it might make an interaction with a talking computer feel a little more charged, a little more loaded.
All right, so there's a gap, and a pretty interesting theory for why it's there. But what's the big deal? What are the actual stakes here? Well, this early trend could snowball into some really serious consequences down the line. It's like a potential domino effect. It starts small with an early adoption gap, but that can quickly lead to a productivity gap as one group gets way more skilled with these powerful new tools. And over time, that could harden into real, lasting differences in jobs, in pay, and in who holds the authority.
But hold on. Before we decide that being hesitant is just a bad thing, the source material throws a really powerful curveball. What if this caution isn't a weakness? What if it's actually a vital strength? Think about it from an evolutionary angle. For any species to do well, you can't have everyone being a bold explorer. You need a portfolio of strategies. You need the risk takers who charge ahead, for sure, but you also need the careful, cautious ones who hang back and check for danger. You need both to balance innovation with safety.
I really love this metaphor. This skepticism, this hesitation, it's not just about being scared. It can act as a kind of social immune system.
It's a built-in brake that stops us from adopting powerful new things too fast, without thinking through all the ways they could go wrong.
And here's the bottom line. If all the cautious voices just decide to sit this one out, we all lose something really important. Our society risks being shaped mostly by the people who are maybe least sensitive to the social and ethical pitfalls. We lose the balance in our portfolio.
And that leaves us with this huge final question to chew on. This isn't just about who's using a chatbot. It's about what we all stand to lose when an entire group's perspective, their caution, their scrutiny, their social immune system, isn't even in the room when we're building the future. What happens then? That's something we all really need to be thinking about.